Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Powerful on Purpose, where we highlight women who are sharing their stories and using those stories then to fulfill their mission and make an impact on the world. And today I'm super excited about our guests. This is going to be a fun conversation. And Kasia D, because I'm going to let her say her last name. I'm not going to butcher that. But she is a online course and business strategist who turns cutting-edge neuroscience, you heard it, neuroscience, into simple, actionable strategies that help clients create powerful learning experiences and sustainable growth. Like, such a cool idea, right? Because there's so many people creating courses, and today you're going to learn from Kasia how to do it the right way. So welcome, Kasia.
So good to be here. So yes, my last name is Derbiszewska, Kasia Derbiszewska. It is a long name, but I'm super excited to dig in and really unpack the neuroscience behind good design. Because if you can predict how people learn, then you can design for it. And that has big impacts on not only the transformation that your clients have, but therefore your business as well.
Perfect. Well, let's just jump right in. Usually I like to start with, tell us the story of why you're doing this. Why, I know a little bit about it, but why you came to this aha, let's combine these two. Let's help people make courses that are more impactful.
I would actually call this accidental entrepreneurship, which I think many of us can relate to. So actually, I'm a former high school English teacher, former researcher, and I have spent the better of the last 2 decades focused on working with school districts around the world and helping them understand learner variability. How do you design flexible and transformative learning environments? So here's where things got really interesting. Several years ago when COVID hit, all of a sudden we had a lot of business owners come to us and say, hey, we have this subject matter expertise, but I don't know how to take it online. And so they came to us and we said, let's do this. And that is how Supercharge Your Online Course was born. And it wasn't something that we intended to do, but I'm so glad that it happened, because online learning is not only a massive industry, but it is such a powerful way to transform, deepen the learning experiences that people have, and to work with experts from around the world that you might not otherwise have access to. So it was kind of not intentional, but also just such a beautiful thing that came about.
Absolutely. And I love that aspect that you mentioned, right? That we sometimes forget that ability that we have to learn from people everywhere, regardless of language or cultural differences. It's really created a bigger world or a smaller world, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we've been able to work with experts around the world. And personally, both my partner and I, we've been able to, just work with people that we otherwise would have not imagined pre this, online era.
Exactly. So give us a slice of how you go about or how you guide someone to go about looking at their course and then infusing that neuroscience aspect or that, I'm not even sure how that works. So you give
Right.
us the script, right?
Yeah. So basically, the principle, so we have several core philosophies that guide this design work. And the first one is that variability is the norm, not the exception. So we tend to design learning environments, whether they are online, in person, hybrid, in the way that we were taught or the way that we prefer to learn ourselves. And when you teach in one way, by default, there will be people who will not learn, or they'll learn it, hear it, but not implement it. And so when we really follow this principle that variability is the norm, not the exception, we start to think about, well, how do I design for millions and millions of people? Because you have more neuronal connections in your brain than there are stars in the sky. And so so I'll pause here with that before I dive into the neuroscience piece, because that's kind of like this core philosophy that we have to understand, that variability is the norm. And when people don't learn, we can't blame the learner. We have to look at the design, because that, in fact, is the only thing we have control over, the design of the environment and not how people's brains are wired.
Absolutely. Yeah. And such a crucial, especially as we change. I mean, and I guess that would be an additional question, right? Like we could go on probably for days here because I always have lots of questions, but the shift in how we're being trained basically to learn, right? The emphasis now on video and things that previous generations didn't have as much access to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So from a neuroscience point of view, we look at three main brain networks. Now, you have more brain networks than three, like you have millions of them. But for the purposes of course design, we look at three main layers, dimensions of learning. So we look at the emotional landscape. So how do people stay motivated? Like, what do they do when they're stuck? Why are they motivated to learn in the first place? So that's called the affective network. Then we look at the recognition network. So that is the back part of your brain, how all that information comes into your brain. How do you see it, perceive it, process language, and all these different things? Do we have biases in our language that we use that prevent people from engaging? And then we have the prefrontal cortex we look at, which is our strategic network, which is how do we get people to take action? So many times we all know, like, if we can teach the content, but we don't help people implement it or take action, then that knowledge is, not as efficient, right? Because the transformation happens in the doing, not in the knowing, in the doing. And so we look at, under the emotional landscape, how people perceive the information and how they act on it, very specific strategies or different approaches to troubleshoot why are people not completing their courses or memberships, or why are they not taking action, so that we can design those flexible and adaptive learning environments.
Right? Like, is everybody else's mind blown? I'm like, ooh, well, and I love brain stuff. So when we get working about that, so yeah, what is a shift you see happening or has happened maybe in the last 6 months that has made you adjust, or maybe it hasn't, I don't know, what you're doing in helping people?
Yeah. So the main emphasis, and this is what we're really looking forward to upcoming, is really helping people to take action on the knowledge. And I think Tony Robbins says this best, that, if we all know what to do, but we don't do what we know we should, right? It's an implementation. And so there's a lot of science behind taking action and being strategic and intentional, not focused on goals, but rather habits and routines. And because if we can focus on the habits and the routines, we will naturally get to our goals. So that is the emphasis that we are taking, especially in the upcoming year, is really focusing on designing habit trackers and trainings to get at the neuroscience behind how do you get your clients to take action. Because when they take action, they get the transformation, you get the testimonial. And it's like a beautiful cycle of where you're energized by their success and they're getting the transformation, and it really fuels your business growth.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Like I got kind of chills, right? And it's not only the testimonial, but it's that obviously we're all doing this because we love it, or most of us, I hope. So we're also getting that hit, right? That endorphin hit, they're getting it. Everybody's happy, is total win-win. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when we see it, like, I think one of the challenges when we are doing implementation is that for those of us who work in a transformation-based industry or transformation-based service provider, transformation can be slow to see. That transformation may be happening internally somehow, or if it's related to weight loss or you're a dietitian. So the transformation is happening, but the client may not see it. So the question is, how do we get that dopamine hit by making it visible for our clients. And so we can create visual graphs of those transformations happening for our clients so that they actually feel and see the progress. We can do a lot of different types of reflection strategies to help them see the growth. And if we're not implementing those tactics and strategies, we may get a client who is making progress, but they don't see it, trickle off and move on to the next thing. And we don't want that. We want them to stay, to commit, but we have to think about intentionally weaving in opportunities for them to see that progress changing, even though it may not be completely visible.
Yeah, such a valid point, because you're right. We all, even habits, right? We all know it takes at least 21 days to create a habit. And then once you fall off, right, it only takes that one day and you got to start all over again. Yeah. So what is a challenge that you are having in your business, in the sense of, I don't even know what that is, but something that, again, and it might be a shift that you're seeing that you guys are just seeing, or something that's, you go, how do we solve that?
Yeah. So I think for us, it's really, so just across the industry, what we're noticing is that people are really looking for a couple of different shifts we're seeing in the industry. Connection. So there are a lot of incredible tools to speed up our work, to work more efficiently. But that also, when we're leveraging AI, usually means that our in-person teams are getting smaller because we're automating so many things. And yet, as human beings, we are wired for connection. And so helping people think about designing retreats, and how do you design a high impact retreat to bring people together, or coaching communities that weave in a community-based aspect. So there's a lot of research that we talk about in our program. How do you design a group of people is not the same thing as a team, and it's not the same thing as a community. So how do you build communities? So that's one aspect in our work that we are seeing a big shift in. And how do you create that? Because everybody's looking for this sense of belonging and facilitating that. So that's one of the things, the shifts that we're noticing in our industry and business, and then across others. And then the other one that we're noticing is really aligning to how people are actually learning. So like with the shift in AI and the focus of rapid learning, how do we use micro-based learning experiences to really support people with where they're at, so they can learn in bite-sized pieces and implement right away, so they're not waiting to see results for so long. And we have, wow, that is a tornado drill happening right now. That is wild.
Wow. Do you guys have some weather coming in, or?
No, I think it's just a test.
Okay. Oh, well, good. Yeah. Because I was going to say, maybe you need to take shelter right away. Hey, it's live, people. This happens, right?
Yeah, no, but that's awfully annoying and unexpected. Here, let me pause my audio until you ask a question.
All right. We're pausing momentarily for tornado warnings going off.
Apparently I can't have the audio. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll just roll with it, right?
We'll roll with it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
We're all safe.
Right, exactly. Well, that's the most important. That's the most important part. Yeah, I was like, but it seems to be, it's like, it's committed. It's committed.
It's committed, but it's decided to take
winding down.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What advice would you give someone who's maybe thinking about a course? Like, what would be, and maybe that's also included because Kasia has some free gifts in your free gifts, but maybe you could talk about that a little bit. How you guide people who say, I'm just thinking about a course, I'm not really sure. Kind of in that first initial stages of thinking about it.
Right. So the way that you actually lay out your course structure or your membership really matters. And so that's what our 100K online course roadmap planner is designed to do. It's designed to show you how to lay out the structure of your online course or membership in a way that you won't have to retrofit it, go back and redesign it. So we work with business owners who are launching new courses, or their courses aren't converting in sales, or people aren't taking, action, or they're stopping midway through the course, and we help troubleshoot. So either approach, but we always go back to the course design structure as our first thing that we look at. And that is where I would really begin, is by downloading that resource and looking at how the design, the structure of your course really impacts the learning experience for your learners.
Right. Yeah, that's a great place to start, right? And I guess you could also use it if you have a course, but want to maybe look at why it's not converting or why people are not getting the transformation.
Yeah. So a lot of courses that we see are what I call a brain dump. So everything I know is just dumped into one spot, and that's overwhelming, right? You don't want to share everything you know. It's about strategic, purposeful action and the way that you organize it. So when I see a course where everything is dumped out in there, it's kind of like my kids' messy backpacks, right? Like, you don't know, like, there's a paper here, there's something there, like this doesn't belong in that section. And you spend so much time trying to go through and find the resource you're looking for, or find the video, or find the action step. And when people have to wade through so much information, that's going to stop the progress before it even starts. So if we want to get out of this messy backpack syndrome and really into a clearly defined course that you can duplicate. So once you master your course structure, you'll learn the tools for your courses moving forward, for the structure of your memberships, your libraries that you create. And that's going to save you so much time as a designer, but also deepen and the transformation and lessen the frustration that your learners have, your clients have.
Absolutely. I love that visual of a messy backpack. And I was thinking of my closet because I've been reorganizing and getting rid of stuff. And this morning, I literally had to pull out everything because I'd lost something in my organization. Yeah. Right. So that whole process too, when we're shifting and changing, things look messy until you have that structure.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So great analogy, because I think we can there's aspects of our business or our lives, right, that we can identify that go, oh yeah, when I have a structure, it's all smooth. Like I know exactly where stuff is. Now I messed with my structure. I got to recreate a new one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And for learners too. I can definitely identify. I can't tell you how many courses I've taken. You want to go back and find something. It's hours to find it. I'm like, nope, never mind. I'm out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so simple to do, and it will save you so much time in the long run. And that's what when we look at the brain research, what we're talking about by creating a course structure is we're looking at how do we organize something, but that has direct impacts on how people feel in the course itself, whether they're motivated to continue, whether they're going to dig through it or not, or they're just going to say, give up, like you said, whether it piques their interest. And so when we look at the brain research, we'll see that we're designing for one aspect based on how the brain works, but we're often addressing another brain network as well, because everything is so interconnected when we start talking about how the brain works.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of the fascination for me with what you do, is taking the complexity of the brain, right, and simplifying it to then put it into a structure that we can actually use to create a bigger impact.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So, one last question. What do you envision your business looking like in 12 months from now? What goals do you have?
Yeah. So we are actually in the middle of looking at developing more micro offers, diving into different brain networks and focusing on for people who are not ready to commit to our full intensive program, our membership, to dive into specific modules like how do you help people take action and implement, or looking at, so specifically in the first quarter in January, trainings on habits, routines, the neuroscience of it, and giving you tangible trackers that are visually guided that you can see progress changing over time over the next calendar year. So developing a lot more micro offers to give people easy entry points for barriers that they may be running into in their course design.
Right? Yeah. So exciting. And that's why you want to grab one of the two or both of the free gifts that Kasia has, which we'll put the links in the show notes, because I'm assuming once they get those, then they would be on your list and get that opportunity to see what else you're doing.
Yeah. So we do a 30-minute profitable online course game plan call where we troubleshoot. This is not sales. This is 30 minutes of coaching. And we dig through the clutter and we figure out a clear game plan, whether you are stuck with the content or the tech or the business strategy around your online course, or something's not working. You will walk away with a clear action plan. So you can grab that below, or the 100K online course roadmap planner that's helped our clients earn over 6 figures in online course sales.
All right. Exciting. Well, any last thoughts before we wrap up here? Anything that you want people to walk away or think about when they're creating courses?
Don't wait. I mean, it is an incredible, I cannot tell you how deeply transformative it is, not only for your clients, even if you are a work one-to-one with clients, they still need, for deep transformation to happen, they need access to teaching on the back end or videos or trainings. And so it lessens the amount of time you have to repeat, reteach, redo on private coaching. You can take your work to the next level, deepens their transformation, but you have access to so many more people. So don't wait on it, because it has direct impact on the client transformation, but also on your time, location, and financial freedom.
Awesome. You heard it there, because that's what we all want on an online business, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
Kasia is your woman.
All right. Thank you so much, Leslie, for having me.
Oh, thank you. It's always a pleasure to learn what you're doing. And you know that I love what you're doing. So I really appreciate you spending time with us and sharing that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And stay tuned for another episode, because you know we have great women sharing great advice and changing the world with what they're doing.